So this is the Jerusalem cricket.
Just real quick,
Yeah.
so only the males have the color.
No, see, that's one of the, so it's not, with different species, it's different. Okay, so there's some where both males and females do, so that kind of is a knock against that idea. And that's why I sort of like this other idea more that has to do with the false search imagery thing. But there are species where the males only have it. And it is clear, like people have done behavioral studies where it is clear that the females are responding to these noise flights. Yeah.
We fed a Jerusalem cricket to our San Elijo alligator.
Did it like it?
Yeah, we found two.
Was the Jerusalem cricket already dead when you fed it to him?
No.
Did he fight? Not really? Oh, I'm surprised, because they can be pretty vicious. Yeah, they will bite you. So this is the Jerusalem cricket. This is one of the most common calls I get at the San Diego Natural History Museum. Because I play this game of kind of like name that tune when I get calls about insects. And this one I can usually name in one note because it's alien is the first thing that people say, or giant termite, that's another one. And if that was a giant termite, you would be in big trouble. If you're not familiar with Jerusalem crickets, they can be about as big as your thumb, okay, when they're full grown and an adult. South of the border, they're called Niños de Tierra, the children of the earth, because they supposedly have a child's-like face. The Navajo in New Mexico, I think it's in New Mexico, I can't remember, called them the red skull insects, again, because of this red skull-like face that they've got. In Baja California, at least, they're thought to be venomous, which they are not, but it's like the folk tale is that they're venomous. And I travel in Baja California quite a bit to collect, and we often get local guides to take us up into remote areas, up in the mountains. And I caught one of these one time, and they thought I was like the bravest man on the face of the planet, which they were incredibly cool guys, and so I felt like, whoa, I'm just out a little bit there. But one of the really interesting stories about Jerusalem crickets is an interaction that they have with a thing called a horsetail worm. Okay? So I don't know if you've ever encountered this. Some folks who've been on the road or been on the trails a lot have possibly encountered this. But sometimes you'll walk up to a puddle, or people will find these in their swimming pools sometimes. And you'll have a dead Jerusalem cricket in the puddle. And you'll have this really long thing called a horsetail worm. And so this is a story of parasitism. All right? But the horsetail worm is completely aquatic. All right? So, but Jerusalem crickets are completely terrestrial. So how do the two get together? And the story is that we'll just start off with two horsetail worms in a pond together. They mate, okay? They have fertilized eggs. Those fertilized eggs hatch, all right? And out come these really little tiny squirmy larvae. They're super squirmy, like so squirmy it's like, isn't that obnoxiously squirmy? Like, aren't you going to attract predators by being that squirmy? But that's exactly what they want to do, okay, is attract predators. And particularly predators being a lot of aquatic insect larvae, okay? Because a lot of aquatic insect larvae, like dragonfly larvae and mayflies, they are going to turn into flying, right? So that's how we get out of the water and into the terrestrial world. Now, I forgot to mention, they lay a lot of eggs, okay? We're talking millions of eggs, because this is a lottery game of trying to get onto land, first of all, because many things aren't going to survive being a little aquatic larvae, okay? But they eventually get onto land by turning into a cyst, just like a little pellet inside of, let's say, a dragonfly or a damselfly. And that damselfly might live a full life and eventually die and fall to the ground. It might get eaten by some sort of vertebrate and have its parts scattered around through both feces and just through the part of breaking up. Well, these things are what we call detritivores. They eat dead organic matter. They'll eat just about anything, including dead insects that are on the ground. So eventually, if they're lucky, all right, or not lucky in the case of the Jerusalem cricket, they will eat something that has a cyst of one of these horsehair worms in it. And that horsehair worm cyst goes into its body. once it's in there, it kind of chemically knows I'm inside of Jerusalem cricket now, okay? And it breaks out of its cyst form, bores through the digestive tract, and kind of lives in the body cavity of the Jerusalem cricket, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It doesn't even have a mouth. It just absorbs nutrients from its body wall, okay? And so eventually it gets so big that it's time to move on in life, but it's got to get back to the water. Remember, it's aquatic. It's got to get back to the water. So this is an image from a graphic novel that the museum's almost ready to put out on this whole entire process. And we call it Zombie Crickets and Love Worms. Okay? And what happens is that, yes, the crickets become zombified. Okay? They, in some way, and it might just be the sheer mass of them storing up so much space, but the crickets feel dehydrated. I'm not sure, I haven't delved into the literature enough if they're biochemically like influencing the brain of the crickets to think that they feel dehydrated, or if something about them physically being in them is actually making them dehydrated. But they feel dehydrated, insatiably dehydrated. So much so that even when they get to a pool of water and they drink and they drink and they drink and they drink, they can never feel dehydrated enough until they basically drown themselves, at which time these guys pop outside and the whole life cycle starts all over again. So really bizarro story of parasitism, and there's tons more like that if you're interested in parasites, alternation of generations. There's tons of cool stories. Yeah.
Is that the only host?
I'm not sure about the host. There's lots of different species of horsehair worms, and I'm not sure about the host specificity of individual species. But if it was on something else, it would probably be another like grasshopper, cricket kind of thing. They're certainly not like one of the things that we make a point of in our graphic novel is that you are not a host, your dog's not a host, all those sorts of things. So they're definitely invertebrates.